Call to order the July 8th, 2019 Transportation Committee meeting. We'll have all members are present. I'd like to have Councilman Dempsey Lambert lead us in the invocation.
Yes, thank you. Please bow. Dear Lord, please give us the wisdom and the strength to address our transportation needs in the parish. Yes, all these things in your Son's precious name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, indeed. The public would like to comment. You're free to have your 3 minutes. Please fill out a yellow or green card and turn it into Darla at the front there. The committee chairman's report. Green or red. It's been a rough couple of days. As far as the committee chairman's report, I do want to report, I know at last meeting we talked about getting a subcommittee together with the school board, the sheriff's office, and the administration. I want to let everybody know that I've spoken with representatives of the administration, and Mike Enlow is going to sit on that committee. I've also spoken with Taft Kleinpeter, and it looks like he and at least one other school board member would like to sit on that committee. I've also spoken with Dempsey Lambert, who will sit on the committee, as will I, and I have spoken with Sheriff Bobby Weber, who is very excited to participate in it. He's going to either participate himself or have a representative there. So by the next meeting, we'll have dates and times when we can all meet, and I thank everybody for participating in that. That's all I have to add to the chairman's report. Item number 5, acceptance of minutes of the June 10th, 2019 meeting as written.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by, apologize. We have a motion by Councilman Todd Lambert and a second by Councilman Johnson. So moved. Moving on to number 6, asphaltic concrete pavement preservation 2019 through 2020. Ms. Barthelot.
Good evening. On June 19th, 2019, the Purchasing Department received one bid for the asphaltic concrete pavement preservation 2019-2020. After review, the Ascension Parish Transportation Department recommends accepting the lowest responsive bid submitted by Material Resources Incorporated and to authorize the parish president to enter into any applicable agreement or contract for this service.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Todd Lambert and a second by Councilman Benny Johnson. Before Councilman Dawson gets to his question, I do want to state that I've heard that the area is having trouble getting asphalt in, a lot of it from Arkansas and other areas due to the high rivers, but go ahead and ask here why there's only one bid question.
Yeah, there's a question.
Do we know why there's only one bid?
We had one bid come in. That was it.
Ms.
They just gonna shed some more light on this? I mean, is there something wrong with the bid spec that excludes people from bidding?
No, sir. There's a limited number of contractors that do this work. The bid included, I think, 3 different treatment types, and I don't think that, there was really enough bidders to submit a bid. We really didn't even have any questions from anybody. So I don't think it was an issue of excluding anybody. I just think it's more of an issue with contractors with the right capabilities and credentials.
So did we put something in the spec that precluded people that didn't have this specific equipment from being able to do the job?
No, sir, we just put the treatments and just say use this treatment or equivalent, and they had the specs in there, and there's nothing that it excluded anybody. In my opinion, it's just a matter of the experienced people in the area that has the capability to do everything we're asking them to do.
So I guess, a question that I have is, how do we know that we're getting obviously it's not a competitive bid if there's only one respondent. So how do we know that we're getting these, the best price for this?
Well,
Do we do some kind of evaluation? That's really the question.
Yes, sir.
If we only have one bid, do we go back and we do some kind of evaluation to tell us if that's?
I check it to make sure the specs are met. But before we put it out to bid, we looked at some surrounding parishes that have done these treatments to see what the costs were associated with that. We also looked on DOTD's, their costs throughout the last 10 years, and they had very few because there's so many, there's not many people in the area that do this work. But I compared costs to make sure that we didn't have any weighted.
So how did we compare it to, both,
The unit-
you had those two things you compared it to?
Iberville has a very similar contract, so we just looked at the prices that they got, which was a year and a half ago, and made sure that we weren't, we weren't very, very much higher above it. The only thing we really had to look at or had to compare is what our surrounding areas are doing with the same treatments, as well as DOTD, the costs that they have listed in their unit prices for every bid that they've gotten, if that makes sense.
So I'm just curious, in a more general sense, Darla, is what, if we get these things with one bid, do we have some procedure that says we need to do this or do that? If we have, do we do any further? Is there anything in our procedures that require us to take another step to see, give me a comparison of that with some other price, like Tacey's talking about, somebody else that's doing it, or perhaps, another review of the bid spec to see if it's too exclusive?
Well, like Tacey said, they didn't exclude anybody from doing it. The problem is we don't have enough companies interested in doing that type of project that have the experience to do it. We don't do a cost analysis or anything on the bid if we receive one bid, if it comes in under budget. Our procedure is if they bid and it comes in over budget, of course, we go out for bid again.
Of course, you could say, I'm not exclusive, but, if I say I'm gonna go out for bids on this 1974 Willis Jeep, license number 12789, then, the spec itself is exclusive
The
in that.
spec is not exclusive because it is specified in the bid documents that they can use an equivalent product.
It's just, beyond me that we have a almost $700,000 bid here and we can't get somebody else to bid on it. It's hard for me to understand. I'm hard-headed, my wife says.
Well, it's advertised, we follow procedures. We advertise for 3 weeks. We gave them, I think, a 10-day period to submit any questions that they had. We didn't receive anything, so I don't know how we would change the procedure to rebid
and
it.
I understand I'm asking this more in a general sense of, does the parish, take any further steps? And I hear that we don't. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The next step we could take would be the council sending for a rebid. That's the only thing that they follow in the guidelines. The
Yeah.
only thing that could be taking place is for us to make a move and not accept it and move to rebid since it was only one bid, but whether or not that's gonna change it.
Well, I'm not sure
It
whether,
wouldn't
can we,
change it. Don't sound like it would change
actually
anything.
do that? Can we reject this
It's been done
bid?
before.
Yeah.
You think you got that?
Everybody's silent there.
Well, I think as
And
the
there's
council, if
nobody
they
in
don't
that
accept
chair.
the bid, I'm guessing, I don't know if anybody legally knows if they can reject it or
I
not.
think you gotta have a legal reason to do it.
Well,
If it meets spec and it's under budget, and if you
Okay.
had a legal reason to reject it, you could, but I don't know that you could in this case. If it-
There's not a reason for us to find the bid non-responsive.
Yeah.
They've met the specs. They did come in under bid, so we don't have a recourse
To change it.
to go in and say it's a non-responsive bid.
Yeah, no, and I don't think it is non-responsive. I guess, again, going back to just a general statement that, I would like to see us look at something in the purchasing that says, one, if we only got one bid, was that bid a reasonable bid. And then secondly, a reevaluation of the spec to see if there's something there that makes it more exclusive.
I will say that this contract, the treatments are so new, there just isn't a whole lot of qualified people to do what we're asking them to do. And, it's so new, there's very few surrounding areas that even do it. But after speaking with, our federal guys at, CRPC, their suggestion is to do payment preservation at the same time as we do construction. And that's the only way we can really catch up, by saving the roads that are savable and spending money on the roads that just can't be saved. So it's a fairly new,
Tacey, can you explain it a little bit, just
Sure.
what it is, just so we have a better understanding?
Sure. So they have a fog seal, which is essentially, they're sealing the pavement as is, and whatever the pavement condition at that point is how it's supposed to stay for, I think, an extra 5 to 10 years. So there's another treatment. We have a lot of roadways that we're losing the fine aggregates in the asphalt mix. It's not actually base failures, but it's the mix that needs to be treated. So with those, the contractor goes in and puts fine aggregates, like sandy material, then seals that, so it replaces all the fine aggregates and then seals the top, so it's smooth, and that will last another, as long as there's no failures, that will last another 10 years or so. And then there's, they have the capability of doing chip seal. I don't know how much we'll do that, since our crews can, handle that. They also have a capability to do a asphalt thin lift, which is kind of, the last pavement preservation treatment that you can do to save a road. It's basically, the top of the asphalt is, just, gone, but the base is okay, so you do a thin lift over what, you kind of mill it, and you do a thin lift over what's there to save the rest of the rest of the road and add some life to it. And that's essentially what this contract is for, is to add life to our roads that are savable right now and not have to reconstruct them in a few years. So, that's essentially, in a nutshell, the treatments that we're putting in the contract, so we have the capability to hopefully address any road that doesn't have base failure, and we can save it at that point, add life to the road, and not have to reconstruct it.
Yeah, this is a new thing that we're doing in the parish. This
Correct.
is something that's not generally done in most other parishes, but we're trying to hit the newer roads first, which may seem counterintuitive. Why would we hit some of the newer roads with the preservation? But if those can last longer, we can then spread some of those dollars to the roads that are in worse condition, bring those up to a standard,
Correct.
and then keep those where they are also.
Correct. We're essentially saving, so we don't have to spend $500,000 reconstructing the base. We might spend $50,000, with just maybe thin overlay or even a texture seal. So we're saving a lot of dollars in the long end and putting that money towards the roads that we can't save and we have to reconstruct.
Go ahead,
Yeah, just wanted to, Darrell, to tell you that I'm not against the project itself, and, this, just in a general sense, this has been something that for 3.5 years has worried me, let's say that, bugged me. But I appreciate both Darrell and you and Tacey's work on this.
If we weren't doing something so unique and proactive, we'd probably have 1 million bids.
Right.
If we said, hey, let's just go through dirt and potholes, we'd have 1 million bids on it.
And like I said, this,
be enough.
this is a new method of addressing the life of our roadways, instead of, spending millions of dollars and never catching up with the roads that, constantly need to be reconstructed. So it's kind of a new way our federal guys are addressing things, as well as the state. They're doing some of this as well. So hopefully, if y'all are okay with the bid, it'll work out well. This is our first time, so but we're hoping that it'll do what we wanted to do.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more questions? Yes, Councilman Johnson. I'm sorry. Any objections? None. Item so moved. Moving on to item number 7, department report. We do have a speaker on that. Ms. Jamie Thompson, I know you'd like to speak after, but we always have speakers first. Oh, wait, we got another speaker. So I'll call up Ms. Jamie Thompson first.
After. I'd like to hear Jason say first.
Well-
Might not even have anything to say.
I understand, but we always do the speakers first. Well, this is not a courtroom, I'm sorry. It's not a place for rebuttal. If you'd like to speak, you're welcome to speak. Okay. Mr. Nelson Morvant. Okay. We just have 2 red cards then. Mike Enlow.
Casey's going to give the department report, but I did want to mention while I beat her up here that 3127, we're turning in our consultant is turning in the stage 0 information this week or next week to Connie with DOTD. There is some review time, but they are going to start in August on the stage 1, the environmental. And he said, just at the very beginning of that phase, they can kind of do in parallel to wait until DOTD reviews the stage 0 and assigns an H number. But they're on track with what the schedule they gave us originally. And,
Which is before the end of the year?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, we can't help what DOTD does with their review time, but Dennis has been in touch with them, and they've gotten everything. They're on the same page, from what I understand. So
Okay.
I'll keep you updated as it permits.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead.
the right of way, I know they already have some, but stage 0, you
No,
know,
they don't. We don't have any right of way on that project. We're looking to get an H number and receive federal funds for this. So we have to follow the NEPA process, which is stage 0 and then a stage 1 environmental to
Okay.
get clearance before we move to purchase right of way. So,
Gotcha, man.
yes, sir.
Good evening again. So the 2018 asphalt overlay we've completed everything. All we're waiting on right now is for the clear lien, and then we'll pay out the retainage and close out that project. 2019 road maintenance project, we just issued the first task. They're actually mobilizing, they were mobilizing today and starting to pulverize Little Ridge tomorrow. So they're gonna get going pretty quick. I did list the roads that are included on task 1, as well as the costs associated with them, so you guys can have an idea how much we can do with our budget. And this is just an estimated cost. It's not a guarantee that we'll spend all this money. Hopefully, we won't have to use it all, but this is what we're assuming we'll run into. I don't know if you want to take a look at it and let me know if you have any questions about it. It is a large task order.
Excuse me?
There's no approval?
No.
This has already been approved,
Correct.
is that correct?
Yes, sir. The contract was approved, it must have been in May, and they signed it and executed it. So, and this is a task order driven contract, so, and we know the contractor is a good contractor, we trust their work. So, it was our decision to give them a fairly large task to do so that they could keep moving and get the work done. It's really, a lot of this will be done before the end of the year, which will be great. So, and hopefully we can fit a little bit more work onto the end and still come under budget, our $3 million budget.
Councilman Dawson? Oh, I didn't know that was the other question.
The
Go ahead, Councilman.
5, 6, and 7, is it Fountain Hill, Pleasant Hill, and Beverly Hills? You having to do a complete reconstruction on those, or what?
No, sir, they're all mill patch overlays, and Beverly Hills, I think, is the only one we're doing the entire road. Fountain Hill and Pleasant Hill, we're only going as far as, the patching is needed. And then we are doing, in the Fountain Hill price, we are redoing the entrance as well. So That's probably why it's a little bit higher than
Are you
Beverly.
going back with the pavers, or you going
No,
back with
sir.
regular asphalt?
No, we're gonna put asphalt back.
Okay.
You know, the parish doesn't maintain pavers or any kind of decorative, anything, really.
Sure. And
Yeah.
thank you for putting Bill Morgan on for the striping.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
And
Jim.
Tiki de Plus is already striped, obviously, but we're paying for the striping that was done on this task. So that's what that cost is.
Councilman Dawson.
Casey, is there a schedule that we can look at for these roads?
There is a schedule. I didn't include it because it's so dependent on weather. I did send OEP our schedule for this week on Laurel Ridge, and I'm going to have Darla help me update it every week, but I can include y'all on the schedule as we update if you'd like. I didn't include it in here, but.
Yeah, no, I'd like to, do you have a schedule like all 18 of these? There's a schedule that shows all,
Yes, sir.
when all of them be
Yes,
done?
sir. And I can.
Or
send it-
scheduled to be done? Yeah, I'd like to have a
Okay.
copy of that, it would be
Yeah, I'll
great.
send it to you tomorrow.
Thank
First
you,
thing.
thank you.
So, if you don't have any questions, I can move on to, let's see. Obviously, the payment preservation, which we just spoke about. We got a good bid, a responsive bid, so, and that's the one that y'all just approved. These are some of the areas that we have identified to treat. If anybody has suggestions or thinks that they might know of roads that can be treated and saved with it, please let me, Mike, or somebody with our department know so we can go look at them and see if they're a good candidate for the payment preservation. But these are,
And once again, just so I'm clear, that would generally be in newer neighborhoods, newer roads?
yeah, newer neighborhoods, like maybe 10 to 15 years old. A lot of the crack seal roads that our crews have done, we are planning to go and seal it all the way, so that it's not just the cracks that are sealed, the entire road. Hopefully, theoretically, what the condition it's in will last another 5-10 years. So, that's what we're hoping to accomplish. And this contractor is excited and ready to go. So, if we can identify as many roads as we can. And it's just based on visual inspection. We don't have we do look at PCI, but PCI doesn't really pick up like the rattling of asphalt and things like that. So a lot of it's going to be visual inspection to identify these areas.
Thank you.
So if anybody has some suggestions, please let me know. I'll be happy to go take a look at them. The next section is DOTD's projects. I've highlighted the current work. It was updated last week. So I don't know if there's any specific projects you guys have a question about that I might know the answer. I might have to get with DOTD to get the answer, but you want to take a look at it and let me know if you have any questions or comments.
I'll let everybody look at it first.
Yeah.
Stacy, I know I had some questions on the LA 29 improvements at 431 and some of the 431 work. A lot of people had said that the work had stopped, but I'm reading here that we're in utility relocation. So correct me if I'm wrong, that means that utilities are having to go out there. We're waiting for companies to go out. I say we, the state is waiting for companies to go out there and do some work before we can move forward. Is that page 9?
You must be are you talking about the intersection improvement?
Yes, on page 9, it says LA 29 improvements at 431.
Okay, yes, sir, the Skull Place. Yeah, I think they're waiting on Cox or E-Tail. They're waiting on one utility company. I can't recall which one off the top of my head, but there is one that they're having problems getting out there to finish moving their utilities. Utilities is always an issue with projects because they're not, most of the time with the state, they're not getting paid to move their lines, so they're not real anxious to do it. So I think that's what's going on.
I was kind of told that the red light poles that came in were the wrong length or something, and they had to reorder.
Okay.
Kind of what I heard from the neighborhood.
Let me check on that tomorrow.
They may have received them in by now.
Okay, let me check on that tomorrow, and I can get a little summary of what's going on and send it to everybody if you'd like.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's on the corner view at
Yes, sir.
Rehab, yes.
This was at, 431 in Gold Place.
Oh, really? Okay, because it looks like they're also having some arm issues on another one.
Same, yeah.
They- Any questions on that? Councilman Dawson?
44 in Loose-Moore, you know, I get something, got a few things in the last few weeks about that. Is it,
You
is
said
it
you got,
still, is it still on the move, or is it?
well, that's more than I've gotten, so if you want to share it with us.
I got some emails.
Yeah, from my understanding, the money is supposed to be allocated, the construction dollars 21 and 22,
Yeah.
fiscal year 21, 22. They're doing the design in-house. I haven't heard back from Ms. Hanks with the OTD on if they need any of our participation. I think we've already committed to helping with whatever we can. But I know it's a pretty, the design's going to be tough because I think they have to do a on-grade bridge over those pipelines. So I can check with maybe Josh Hollins tomorrow and see where they're at on
Okay.
in-house
I think I
design.
got an email maybe 2 weeks ago from a DOTD, and it maybe something to the effect that this is the final layout. I don't remember exactly what it said.
Okay. I'll
They've
check.
gone through all the public hearing, is that correct? Or,
I believe so. I
Yeah.
believe so. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I got one question for Mike.
Yes,
while he's up
Councilman
here.
Lambert.
Mike, one
Yes.
quick question. Today, we were supposed to find out when we was gonna have that meeting for the data crash results.
The crash data, yeah, I haven't heard.
Have you set up a meeting yet?
No, I think the 8th was when Mr. Strength.
Was coming
Steve
back,
Strength was coming
correct.
back, and Miss Marie Walsh is supposed to be in
Setting up,
contact.
so the next few days, we
I'm
should hear
hoping,
something.
I'll reach out to her tomorrow morning, first thing,
Okay, just
and, yeah, see if we can go over that with you guys.
appreciate it. Thank you,
Yep.
Mike.
Absolutely.
That's all I have.
Okay. Go ahead, Stacy, anything else?
Yeah, I do, the last section of the report is a quick summary of what our pavement management guys have done. I want to definitely give credit where credit is due. They did a great job in overlaying Prairie Oaks and, getting that handled for us so that we didn't have to spend our construction dollars in there. And they did a great job. We're getting a lot of positive feedback, which, we don't often get. So I just want to give credit to Boxcar, Joe Broussard, Mike Beck as the superintendent of the crew. And that's hard work. It's super hot, as you know, outside, and then you're around 300-degree asphalt. For them to get all of that done in the time period they did, I think is a real accomplishment. I just want to give credit where it's due. So that's all.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Moving on, we have the Move Ascension update. Before we get started, speaking of giving credit where credit's due, I want to give a big thank you to Ron Savoy, Jeff Burst, Mike Enlow, William Daniel, and also Congressman Graves and Senator Cassidy sent their highest-ranking officials. We had an issue with the Corps of Engineers about work permits that really threatened to slow down a lot of what we were doing. And we got everybody together for a meeting. We sat down. We worked everything out as far as that limited issue and are able to move forward on it because of the work of the people up here that are about to speak. So I really want to thank them, thank our senator, thank our congressman, and thank the Corps of Engineers for working with us on it because it could have slowed things down tremendously. So thank you, Jeff. Now go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. I'll just run through your Move Ascension briefing. Y'all each have a copy. As we always start at the top, that's just a list of the projects, who the designer is, and just have updated the percent complete. And we will just run down through some of the other more pertinent issues, but if we can always circle back if you have a question on any of the individual ones. There's potentially some construction projects that hopefully by the end of the year we'll be able to let the construction. It's highly dependent on right-of-way acquisition, utility relocations, and as Councilman just mentioned, getting the core permit. We've already secured a good number of the permits and have gotten them to concur and/or if one would not be required for some of the projects. But then they recently tried to change their rules on us a little bit. And like I said, we had a meeting that was very positive, and and they seem to agree with us that we're moving forward with those. That being said, it's still a somewhat lengthy process, but we've gotten it to where it's shortened down considerably, where, might get the permit in 3 months and not 8. But anyway, so depending on all of those things, St. Landry Connector, possibly the turn lanes at all 3 locations on Highway 73. Seabro will be ready and does not actually require a core permit. We have a letter of concurrence for them on that. And as well as the same situation would apply to Roddy with the 2 intersection improvements, one at Norwood and one at Merritt Evans. So again, these are just potential, could go to construction letting, and that's all based on utility relocations and those core permits. So not all, but some of the select ones that move fastest through the system, we'll be in position to let those construction. Now, we will be in a position already to go to clearing and grubbing on the 2 Roddy jobs, LA 930, and whether or not we let it or the parish elects to do it in-house like the St. Landry Connector, the 929, 930 roundabout location. So those are all going to be positioned and ready, right-of-way acquired by the end of this year to go to letting with those clear and grubbing projects before the end of this calendar year. Right-of-way acquisition, item 4, we've already completed the St. Landry Connector and the Babin Road Bridge replacement. We are moving forward on all projects in Move Ascension program with regard to, even if it's just the beginning work of identifying the title work in the courthouse and not actually, doing any acquisition, but everything is at least started, even that initial title work process. You'll notice on Roddy, the 2 segments, there's approximately 122 parcels, and on the northern segment of, I say northern, but 935 to 621, we're about 99% complete. We have 1 outstanding parcel to acquire that we're efforting now. We need a little bit more field work, and then there's the ETL property. Other than that, we'll be in a position to let that one to clear and grubbing. So all right-of-way will be acquired. And at the back of your page, just to show you as an example, that specific project, just kind of how we're tracking right-of-way acquisition. So we have a real handle on where things stand for each individual parcel, whether the compensation package has been put together, has the title work been done, has an appraisal been ordered, is a sale complete. And so we're tracking it to that level. And that's just an example from that Roddy project I just mentioned. In the back of your packets, y'all can kind of see how we're tracking acquisitions. Item number 5 is utility relocations. On the Babin Road project, we are complete. And then we have several that we're hoping, based on those core permits, to begin by the end of this year. We're coordinating with all the utility companies because they don't have many crews. So, they have to skip and go from one to another, and we can stagger them when, if ETEL's moved and they're out of there, Baton Rouge Water can come in and do that while, they're moving to another job. They just don't have enough crews to send them to 3 jobs all at the same time. Plus, they're trying to fit in DOTD work, private development, other parish priorities, things like that. But they have been working with us and committing crews to this program. So that's a pretty positive step. Environmental, we just hit on that a lot. Hopefully we'll, with this new process and the meeting we had with the branch chief of the Corps on the 2nd of July, and outlining those details, we're hoping this fall to have every single Corps permit in hand and secured to be able to move those utilities and construct those roadways. Just as an example, Mike asked me to include the Babin Road project on your update. Starting on the 21st of this month, the DOTD plans on issuing the contractor, Merrick Construction, and NTP to start work. Last month, they had a pre-construction meeting. And this is just a little bit of a timeline of how they started, and that is a DOTD off-system bridge project. Now, in that, there's a cooperative endeavor agreement where the parish is responsible to acquire the right-of-way and move the utilities. So once they got through, and you can see it started back in January, February of 16, and they're going to go to construction this month. And you'll see all the tasks that DOTD had completed through their consultants. Then it went on pause after a certain point, turned over to the parish, who solicited our services to help them with the acquisition of right-of-way and relocating the utilities. So you'll see those timelines. And then, of course, DOTD went ahead and led it in February, and we'll start construction this month. So that's an update on that one. And then again, just the next sheet, item 8 is just ongoing activities that we just recap for you in all the briefings, but it's programmatic items that just happen every month. And with that, that concludes the briefing, but I'm certainly willing to sit here and answer your questions, of course.
Councilman Dawson.
Jeff, I just wanted to, if you would go to the Roman numeral 2, and it says potential construction projects could be let by the end of 2019. If you don't mind, could we talk about what is holding up, let's talk about St. Landry to Ashland Connector. Is the environmental done? Is the right-of-way acquisition done?
Yes, sir. That one has been through 100% design. The right-of-way is acquired, and it has been cleared environmentally, and we do have a core permit for that project.
So what are we waiting on to put that out for bids?
It could go to bid, to advertisement when we're given the word to move forward with it.
Where does that word? Where does that?
Well, it's my understanding, and
Is that through
correct me
your
if I'm wrong, that
contact?
the
Is that
administration
like-
was still in some talks and was going to give it one last effort to see if some of the plants down there would do some kind of cost share, put up some financial participation. And so they just didn't want to go out to bid, the parish 100% responsible, if there was a shot that they could come back to the table.
Okay. So Henry Road at 73, is there any, what's
We're
holding?
acquiring the right-of-way right now. I've worked with
Okay.
all the utility companies. I have most of their utility relocation plans. That is one of the ones, unfortunately, that hung up in this core permit situation, has been resolved. So we were supposed to have the permit this month and could move on with right-of-way acquisition next month because we'll have the right-of-way acquired. But I'm still very hopeful that we'll get that permit in. By that time, the right-of-way will be acquired by the end of this month, and we can begin with moving some utilities. There aren't many to move there.
So
that-
that's right away. That's utility and right away is being held up. It's holding that up. Is that correct?
Right-of-way is being acquired right now. I'll give all the right-of-way on that project this month.
Okay.
Utilities can't relocate and any construction until we secure that core permit.
All right, what about the turn lane, LA 73, Brown and Oakland Drive?
Those are tied together, and we were going to let them as a single construction project to try to realize maybe some efficiencies on mobilization and a little bit more substantial project.
So
and
do
get
they
better
have
bid
right-of-way
items.
acquisition or utility?
We are acquiring the right-of-way right now. I should have all right-of-way acquired by the end of this month or beginning of next on both of those projects. Oakland, we already have concurrence by the Corps. We do not need to pursue a permit there, but we need one for Brown. The problem is these projects are tied together.
Okay. And the Roddy Road safety improvements, is that right away?
Design is just about complete. It's very minimal amount of way to acquire, but we will effort that. We already have the core permit for that corridor and can move straight into utility relocations before the end of this year. And those are small little turnout jobs that, as we move, we should be able to move them pretty quickly to at least advertise before the end of the year to go to construction on that one as well.
So Seabro and the Seabro widening?
Offer letters are going out in the next 2 weeks. We're acquiring that right away. There are 16 parcels to acquire. Very minimal utilities because we widen all on the south side. So very minimal utilities. So if we can get them in, it also does not require a core permit. We have a letter of concurrence from the Corps on that.
So it looks to me like out of these 5 projects, 4 of them are waiting on some right-of-way or environmental or something.
Correct.
Something
Correct.
in the process. And then the St. Landry at Ashland, we're waiting on the administration to go one more time and talk to the plants and try to
Yes.
see if they can get a contribution. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that's my
Okay.
understanding.
All right, thank you,
Yes,
Jeff.
sir.
Any other questions? Councilman Johnson.
What work are we gonna get done this year as far as building roads or building intersections? Sounds like we're doing moving
Well-
utilities and clearing and grubbing, but it doesn't sound like we're gonna get any work done as far as actually building roads, is that right?
We have a good
Yeah,
possibility
St.
of the turn lanes on 73, as I was mentioning, being let by the end of this year. There, just a little bit of, a few utilities move. The right-of-way is almost acquired, should have it acquired by the end of this month. Oakland has no permit required, just like Sebro and the Roddy intersections. Coordinating the utilities is the key timeline, because that's the key to the schedule.
And at the 929 and Parker roundabout, it looks like it's 90% complete. On that list, where we at with that as far as getting out some bid on that?
We're not close to that on that one. Neither Roddy and Church Point, although there's a chance those could bump up, and here's the reason. It is tied to DOTD Federal Highway Safety Funds, and they have us programmed $1 million each on each roundabout, and they don't have us programmed until fiscal year 2021 at the earliest. That being said, we're moving forward with acquisition of right-of-way. We can move the utilities and secure the permits. If that's the case, there's a chance, and that's why I don't want to hang my hat on DOTD's possible of moving us up if another parish's project is not ready.
And Ben, just so you know, we had talked about a while back trying to move some of that safety money off of those projects, spend our own money on it, and move that $1 million to another project that wasn't as far along, so we could then do those roundabouts, and we're not allowed to do that.
Basically, from my understanding of the moving up, there's enough room in the federal, I guess, money stipend that comes down to the state. The project has to be ready, I think, by the end of September. That's when the state's fiscal year restarts. So in order for us to bump up early into 2020, we would have to be done this year with everything by September on both roundabouts. Now, Church Point and Roddy, I think we can do that, but it's going to be mixed in with the other clearing and grubbing and utility relocations for the other the segments north and south of the roundabout. I'm not sure if Parker's available to move up. I think we're still waiting on some of their concurrences.
Well, and that's exactly the same situation as DOTD has all review rights and are, been having the final plans in their shop for a while now. And but we're close to finalizing all the design, and it's just going to be a matter of, when will they program us in for that $1 million in federal funds?
All right. Any other questions? Okay, moving on from my agenda. Moving on to item number 8, approval of change order with Genesis 360 LLC in the amount of $1,288 for the Janelle Street driveway project. Motion and a second. Any discussion? None. Any objections? None. So moved. Item number 9, approval of substantial completion for the Janelle Street project, driveway project.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by
Second.
Councilman Todd Lambert, a second by Councilman Benny Johnson.
And one question for Ryan.
And a question.
Ryan, complete meaning we did address it completely, all the driveways. I know we had a couple of issues that we had to.
Yes, sir, all that's been
complete.
addressed.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we have any further discussion? None. Any objection? None. So moved. Item number 10, adjournment.
Second.
Moved and second. Motion